Okay, hi. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Path Nutritional Therapy. And I am your host, as always, Brandy Lloyd. And I have a super awesome, amazing, crazy shit path guy on today. And his name is Dr. Perry Nickelston. I have been a longtime follower and believer in his passion. I use his programs on my own body and his tips and tricks for rehab, recovery, repair for my own body and also for my clients. And I know that with my own clients, whenever I bring up their lymph system, I get this blank stare coming back from them, and they don't know what I'm talking about. And one of my clients even said, "Well, I don't have a lymph." And I said, "No, lymph, So I asked I asked Dr. Perry if he would come on today and just treat us all like we're five and that we really don't know anything about lymph, and for him to kind of share a little bit of the lymph mojo, which is, I love that. I say that all the time. And so, Dr. Perry, welcome.
Well, thank you, Brandy, so much for having me on the show. It's really great to be here, and thank you so much for the kind words. I'm truly grateful with that. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I tell normal people, quote unquote, normal people that are not in the healthcare industry, not to feel bad if you don't know what the lymphatic system is, because I'm going to be honest with you, the people in the medical industry don't even know what the
right.
lymphatics. I mean, they know about it, but they really don't pay attention to it, honestly. I'm happy to see that it's beginning to change, at least based on some of the stuff I'm seeing with research coming out, particularly about the new lymphatics they found in the brain, which they used to think we didn't have any lymphatics in what they call our central nervous system with our brain and their spinal cord, but now they're like, well, we do. So that's kind of cool. I'll talk about that a little bit as we go. And I'm trying to be a big a part of that as I can to expose people to the lymphatic system. And honestly, prior to maybe, what is it going on, like maybe 4 years ago, I didn't really pay much attention to it either. It wasn't even on my radar. And it came across my radar like so many things do for people in relationship to their own health when something happens to you or a loved one, where you get chronic pain or you get diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, suddenly out of nowhere, and you're searching for answers and you don't get a lot, honestly. And you lose hope and you get frustrated. I'm sure many people listening might be at that point right now. And I certainly was, because like many people, stuff started coming on to me kind of slowly, where I would just start to feel really bad. And then all of a sudden I try to take things the medical route to make me feel a little bit better. And, they do, that's what they're for. Right. But it would just keep coming back because it never went after the underlying cause of what's going on. It's just treating symptoms. And you'll soon find that most of these autoimmune disease things that you have, they're just symptoms with different names attached to them. And unfortunately, I became much worse through that approach of the traditional Western medicine of surgery and medications. And I got so bad, honestly, that I had to stop practicing. I had to stop seeing patients and clients on my own because I really was just so tired, so fatigued. My brain started to go where I couldn't put sentences together. I couldn't remember what I wanted to say next. Right. And that's not very conducive to helping another person when I can't even help myself. And then I had to stop teaching as well, because I was traveling the world teaching workshops for people how to take care of themselves, but I was failing on my own. And I ended up finding the answers through desperation. Really, I was looking outside the box, you might say. A lot of things that people think are fringy, but you go down that path when you've suffered enough, honestly. And nobody else can give you answers of stuff that's supposed to work.
And I right? believe that I think I even had it written on my board back there is kind of what I put messages up for clients, or if I'm explaining something. I know you're famous with your slides, and I've seen those in your boards and everything. You said something a while back about how desperation is the best tool for opening your mind.
Yeah.
And I found that in my own life, that I was just like, I'm willing to just do anything just to feel better. Is that kind of where you were?
Yeah, I was, I mean, I thought that I was looking at the body holistically, from me being a chiropractor and studying that approach. But I was still focused a lot on the musculoskeletal system at that standpoint, which
Right.
are, muscles and joints and fascia. And, Stop Chasing Pain came from that world of, it's very simple. Like if your low back hurts and you treat your low back and it doesn't get better, well, then maybe it's not your lower back. Then,
Right.
it could be from your hip that doesn't move, or the middle of your back that doesn't move, or something in the front of your body that doesn't hurt. But I was still in the musculoskeletal world, if you follow my lead. So it was still in that system. And I never really looked deeper than that until I got the autoimmune disease, which they still don't know what it was, and they don't either. So that's what they classify it as an autoimmune disease. And I'm kind of glad it didn't have a name, because sometimes when you get a diagnosis name, then you become that name. And all of a sudden you get worse because you're no longer a human being, you're a label.
Right.
And that has its own deep rabbit holes that you can go into.
Right.
And so I was forced to look outside of just the traditional rehab approach that I was dealing with, working your muscles or doing corrective exercises, and, even basic kind of fundamental nutrition really wasn't working for me anymore, because I was in such a state of full body inflammation, what they call systemic inflammation, where almost every single thing in your body is inflamed or freaking hurts.
Yeah.
And so many people listening have that, and they get a diagnosis of like chronic fatigue syndrome, or, something like fibromyalgia or something like that.
Right.
It's all the same underlying reason, which is just chronic inflammation. And then you have to figure out, why is the body not able to get rid of the inflammation? All right. So you have to look for underlying causes, and there's a couple different reasons, but we'll get into that later. But why it can't get rid of swelling. And then that's what was happening to me. So I was trying to look for answers on my own. And I came across a course that I was going to in London, because I was starting to study like energy systems of the body. I'm looking at different systems than I had gone to before. And I was at this course, and this guy said something to me. He said, I think I have an idea about why you're not healing and not getting where you want to go. Because this guy followed me on my social media and actually wanted me to come to the course. And he was quite surprised at how unhealthy I looked when I got there.
Yeah.
Right. And I would, he said to me, I think you have a lymphatic system problem. And I'm like, say what? Like, I didn't even cross my radar. Right. And then he said, I just want to check a couple of areas on your body to see how the lymph, they're called lymph nodes, which are larger areas that where the lymphatic system comes together. And these nodes are designed to detoxify your body. Like the lymphatic system is basically the sewage system of your body. It gets rid of and fights bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungus, things like that, outside toxins, but also that's called exotoxins from the world outside. Right. Most of it man-made stuff. And then you have endotoxins, things that are already inside of you, and just yourself, because what happens is that you have about 30 billion cells that die naturally every day in your body. So you regenerate. That's what aging is, right? So things die and then you regenerate. And all those cells, when they die, that's what we call cellular waste or metabolic waste that happens from everyday life, right? All of that waste has to go, it's got to get out of you. It's got to go somewhere. And the primary system that gets rid of that waste is the lymphatic system, right? So it's pretty damn important that if you have all these toxins in your body from the outside world and the inside world, if they don't have anywhere to go, they just stay inside of you. And trust me, you're not going to feel too good when that happens.
Sure.
And I always equate it to because if it's the sewage system of your body, I kind of use this analogy of imagine when you go to the bathroom in your house, that's waste, right?
Right.
And if you couldn't flush the toilet for years,
Yeah.
It's just going to sit there. It's just going to be nasty. Well, that's
Right.
what happens inside of your body, because the lymphatic system flushes the toilet inside of your body. And, not good things hang around when that waste stays inside of you. And he actually put his hands on two places on my neck. It's just right behind my jaw, below my ear at the top of your neck. That's the largest lymph node in your neck. And it was excruciating. I mean, I was completely surprised because I'd never even bothered to check there. And it was very puffy and swollen. And then he checked all the other primary areas of the body, usually around the arms and then the hip and groin and knee. And they were excruciating, like really puffy.
Wow.
And I was stunned. And he said, yeah, you're just like a walking inflammation with the system is overloaded. And of course, me personally, when somebody tells me I learned something, I mean, like I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not going to let it go. But he gave me a little bit of a treatment, and I woke up the next day and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm nuts, but I feel better. Like, I think I'm on to something. And I started to invest my time in learning more and more about it, but then began to treat it. And I'll tell you how I put my own system together over the years from stuff that I've learned. But within a month, I was like a different human. I was like, my brain was coming back. So my energy was coming back. My pain that I was having, all these different places over my body. And what I loved is I was not as puffy anymore, as swollen anymore. So I'd look back at old pictures and it looks like, I'm like, all right, who put the pumpkin on my shoulders? Like my face was just like,
right.
Like really big. And I just looked heavy. And I lost 30 pounds of inflammation and swelling and fat in a month.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I've been into bodybuilding and fitness since I was 14 years old. I mean, I know how to burn body fat if you've got a normally functioning system.
Sure.
Through nutrition and calories and exercise and moving. It's plain and simple. You try to restrict your calories, you move more. But I was like, that is not, I'm just, how many people listening to this are like, I do all that and nothing changes, right?
Right.
And you just get frustrated, and then you just end up doing some crazy diet that puts you under more stress.
Sure.
Or you just give up altogether. Or when you do train, you feel like you have more pain. That's very common too. And I was like, this is amazing. Like that just dropped off like I rubbed the magic lamp of the genie. And, it took my 30 pounds away. But then I had to figure out, why did that happen? Right? Like, why did helping the lymphatic system make such an improvement in everything? I mean, it's great that if you look great, but trust me, if you can feel great on the inside at the same time, I mean, that was worth everything.
Yeah, that's my problem. Probably the best I ever looked, being a personal trainer for all these years and athlete and everything, the best I ever looked, I look back at some of those pictures, was the worst I ever felt. I mean, I felt like, like hurting everywhere and just exhausted and slurring my words by the afternoon because the fatigue and fibromyalgia. I was like, great, so now we're just throwing darts, kind of a thing. And so I know what you mean about chasing anything and everything and getting the confused looks from the doctors, and then they just say, well, maybe it's just anxiety, or maybe whatever. And I'm like, oh, come on, it's making me anxious chasing this, and I don't know what it is. And you made a comment about like getting a diagnosis, and when I got my diagnosis for the spondylitis, I was like, first I was really, for about an hour, because it was a long drive to this doctor, and about an hour in the car, I'm like, that's BS. That's not what's going on, And then I'm on my phone and I'm looking at things, and I'm like, dang, this is like spot on. How could I miss this? I'm a body professional. I'm a body worker. And I've been doing so much work with you, you know, and everything. And I'm like, I'm doing all this. My joints should be great. My lifting should be great. My eating is great. I'm not dialing it in. And